Good evening and welcome to another edition of Bits and Pieces New York City, where we explore the life, the customs, the interests of the Caribbean American community. With me this evening, I have three special gentlemen. They're all part of the local New York cricket scene, and they will be introducing themselves when we get back. So please like, share the broadcast, and we'll be back with you shortly. Every day is a win. You know I try to hold on to the way they tell you. All right, we're back, and it's the Bits and Pieces New York City. Um, we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. Tahir, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, good evening. My name is Tahir Walsh. I'm originally from Antigua and Barbuda. I've been living in New York for just about three or 4 years now. I started playing cricket when, well, from as long as I could remember. To be honest, I think
Okay.
the story is from whenever I started to walk. My father indoctrinated me.
Okay, okay.
So
Your father don't happen to be Courtney Walsh.
no. Late Hayden was senior. but yeah, played cricket for Antigua and the Leeward Islands and at the youth level until I made the transition over to athletics when I was about 16 years old. Discovered I had the talent for running and kind of, it started out as, like something I was just going to try for a year, and well,
Hmm.
here I am 11 years later. But
Still out there.
yeah, so eventually I left Antigua, went to Middle Tennessee State University on a athletic scholarship, and in between then I spent some time in Jamaica training with the Racers Track Club, and had the opportunity to represent Antigua at the 2016 Olympics in Rio for the 4x1. And my
Okay.
journey eventually brought me here to New York. And just about last year, just around when the pandemic hit, I wasn't really competing much, but I was looking for ways to kind of stay active, and I thought to myself I'd get back into playing some cricket, my first love,
Okay.
and reached out to John at the Atlantis Cricket Club and got a chance to play some cricket last year. And
Okay. Interesting journey. Interesting journey.
yeah,
All right. We've had Vicky and Danish on here before, but you guys can quickly reintroduce yourself, please. Starting with Danish.
Yeah, hey everyone. Tough act to follow there to hear. You set the bar real high, but thank you, Anansi, for having me back on. I guess in a local community that probably was watching, I'm associated with Richmond Hill Liberty Cricket Club. We've been around now for going on. Well, I've been involved in the club for about 11 years now. The original Richmond Hill Cricket Club was founded back in 1993. Thanks again, Anansi, for having me on, and I'm looking forward to the conversations that we'll have.
Certainly, certainly. Okay, Vicky, your turn.
Oh man, I have to follow two tough acts now. So I'm Vicky Kilawan. I'm the current president of Liberty Sports Club. And I'm happy to be back here, Nancy.
Okay, great. All right, Liberty Richmond Hill. I mean, I see they're unbeaten so far in the 40 over season. Um, tell us what has been the magic formula, Vicky or Danish, any one of you guys.
I think it's just a matter of having a good environment, and we cannot take credit for the players. They do their thing, and we're lucky to have a bunch of very talented guys that go out there and execute to the best of their abilities. Dinesh, you want to add to that?
I think you covered it well there, Vic. I think overall our goal in the club from the outside, maybe it looks like we're winning all these games and stuff like that, but we try to create a very stable and great environment for the guys to play cricket in. And I think if you keep at that, then we've been around long enough to look at clubs like Everest and Richmond Hill, even Atlantis and stuff like that. Great clubs like those, and model ourselves after it. So it looks great probably from the outside. There's a lot of hard work also, and as Vicky said, it's full credit to the guys that are out there on the playing field every day, every weekend, putting in the hard work. We're just humbled to see the results come with it, and it's good to have while you're right there.
Okay, great to hear. But in terms of the players, and anyone in particular that has really been shining during this season?
I mean, there are a few top performers, of course. It's tough to kind of call out guys when everybody puts in all the efforts. Dino Chaunam has been extremely outstanding for us for many years now. I think he's been at the club going into his fourth year. Been on top of the league and definitely two-time MVP for the club. From a batting standpoint, he's on top. Our captain Trevor Henry on Sunday does an incredible job. Very experienced cricketer. A young kid that joined the club this year, Raymond Ramathan, is leading our Sunday bowling. We have a third team actually, so we have two teams, one on Saturday and Sunday, which has been our traditional teams over the past few years. And we added a new team this year, and we have Satish Dwarka leading the batting table right now in that team, and Avo Singh, who's number 2 in the batting, is also leading the bowling there. And another person I should point out too from the Saturday team bowling, Leon Mahabir, who's been year after year at the top of the bowling tables for us. He's again on top of the bowling table for Saturday. Unfortunately, he hasn't been too much available on Sundays for us, but yeah, he's been doing his thing on Saturdays.
Okay, great to hear. Tahi, I know you were training for the Olympics and so on. Have you been able to play much cricket for Atlantis this season?
No, I haven't been able to participate in any matches mostly because for the past 3-4 months, my weekends have been mostly preoccupied with either traveling or just on the whole just resting. With my preparations, it wasn't really it wouldn't have been the best idea to go out and play cricket, and with fast bowling being one of my my attributes. It was too much of a risk to put all the work that I've put in, to prepare for the Olympics on hold. So no, I haven't been able to play any matches, but now that I'm free, I'll be, looking to get myself back into to shape, so to play some cricket and see if I could help the boys out.
Okay, good. Well, you got a major team in the, you know. By the way, Danish, is Atlantis in the same league with you guys?
No, we participate in the New York National Cricket League. Atlantis is part of the New York Metropolitan Cricket Association.
Okay. Okay. So you guys would not be playing each other anytime soon.
Yeah, we had a warm up match prior to the season starting on Sunday. I think they tipped us a little bit, a slight bit there, but we'll probably arrange a rematch.
So Atlantis did get the better of you during the warm up match.
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, interesting. All right, Vicky, tell us what's been the crowd response so far this year. I know last year we didn't have cricket; it was COVID. Have the fans been coming out, been supporting their teams?
Yeah, so we are lucky to have a home ground actually. We call it the Cage by Foch and Barron Street in Queens, New York. And we're lucky to have a loyal fan base that comes out every Sunday and Saturdays as well to support the club. We see before COVID, a lot of the older gentlemen would come out on Sundays. Last year, we missed them a lot for health and safety reasons, and this year, a lot of the guys keeps coming out again. So we're very happy to see them out there. And it's like with international cricket too. When the fans are there clapping and providing the atmosphere, the players get a little extra motivation. So it's good to see that.
Definitely. All right. You're watching Bits and Pieces. We're talking cricket. We're talking local cricket. We're going to be talking about the possibility of Olympics. I mean, cricket at the Olympic Games. Should it be a part of the Olympic Games? Our panel will be. We'll be back with you. Okay, we're back. This is Bits and Pieces, New York City. Now, the Olympics coming up going to be held at Tokyo this year. And in some cricketing circles, there, the question has been asked: should cricket be a part of the Olympics? Now, I've read that in, I think it was 1900, 1900, um, cricket made its sole appearance at the Olympic. Great Britain, of course, won the gold medal. Now, Tahir, do you think that cricket would be a good fit for the Olympic Games?
Well, yeah, I think it would be an interesting sport to have in the Olympics, seeing that it appeared in the Commonwealth Games back in 1998. And it's going to be in the Commonwealth Games next year. Well, the women's game is going to be in the Commonwealth Games. I think, it would be a nice, in addition to the Olympics, to be honest. The only thing for me really is just even just looking back at the teams they had, in the 1998 Commonwealth Games. I think that they would probably have to maybe, what's the word? Kind of have some provisions in terms of like players. For instance, like football, soccer at the Olympics is pretty much the under 21s for these countries, whereas you could, have the addition of 3 or 4, I think, players over the under 21 age to kind of balance it out. Because, for instance, now, you have cricket at the Olympics, and you have Australia, England, India sending full strength squads to play against the likes of, an Antigua, Barbados, or even like a Guyanese team. It would be, seeing that, our very own West Indies, tend to struggle a bit as a united force against these countries, a single, Barbados team or Guyana, Jamaica, have you coming up against the full strength of Australia would be a bit of an overkill, I think. So I feel like, having the same format where it's maybe like an under 21 or under 23 tournament with the possibility of adding, 2 or 3 experienced players could maybe level the playing field a little bit. Because, even just really thinking about it, and even just looking back at the match today with England and Pakistan, where England had to make, a fresh squad, 11 whole changes, but then the quality of that squad was just still so high as compared to, Pakistan. There still would be a lot of indifference, I feel like, in terms of like the quality of players, teams would have to insert. But I think it would be a good, what's the word? I think it would be good advertisement for the sport in general to have it like that up there on the Olympic level, to really build and develop the sport, get more, people watching it and appreciating, the sport of cricket, to be honest.
So I'm a little more excited about this than Tahir. And I think a lot of people who watch cricket like cricket, but they don't like when you say, oh, the game is 5 days. But the T10 version of cricket, if you guys have watched it, is very exciting. And I think that would be a great addition to the Olympics. Plus, the T10 version of the game, like Karen Pollard and Bravo will want to challenge would put a Trinidad team up and want to challenge any other team in the world, right? I think with the T10 game, it kind of levels it a little bit. You don't have to have, I don't want to say you don't have to have as much skill, but you could probably compete easier. Or even if the game is going one-sided, it doesn't get drawn out for like 3 or 4 hours. So I think it allows for more teams to come in and not be boring. So I think T10 version of cricket will be a great addition. And I'm excited. I think Owen Morgan, when he first played T10, he said, I think this is the version that should go to the Olympics. And I'm hopeful in 2020. When is the next one? 2020. Well, it's moves one.
They don't want to do it for the Los Angeles, which would be 2028.
2028, 2029.
Yeah. ICC is in the discussion with the IOC and things to have it in 2028.
Yeah. Plus, I think the timeline to a T10 game is what, 90 minutes, the whole game. I think that's perfect.
Okay. Danish, we talk about, Tari spoke about promoting the game and, having it, it being a part of the Olympics would certainly help to promote the game. But now if you use the T10 format and we put it out there and fans really get excited about the T10 format, what do you think happens to the game in the long run, Dennis? What do you think that would impact the game negatively?
No, I don't necessarily know that. I wouldn't estimate that it will be a negative impact. I think anything that grows the fan base and grows the following of the sport is going to only be positive. Even sports like the NBA and NFL and stuff, they're looking at new and innovative ways to capture new audiences. There's a new media outlet right now that I think they just got another round of funding that's trying to provide snippets of like power play moments in these games, and fans will pay like 99 cents for a subscription just to watch those highlights of the game. So I mean, I think anything that could make cricket innovative and bring it to a wider audience will only be good for the sport. Certainly the die-hard fans and the guys that are die-hard Test cricket fan or one-day cricket fan might not necessarily agree with that. But a little bit before we got on here, Tahir and I was having a conversation around what the Olympics actually bring from a fan base and a viewership. Around the Olympics, everybody is a huge sports fan. They're bobsleds fans and they're curling fans and these sports that you don't normally know, and even like they're track and field fans. I mean, we might not like that because call them probably fair weather fans that come out every 4 years to support or to claim that they're massive supporters of that sport, but it does provide a gateway and an entryway into the sport where the next time it's on or the next time a big event comes on, they'll latch on to it. We certainly saw that with T20 when it got bigger over the years with the World Cup playing twice the frequency of a regular World Cup. That TV rights and viewership and things like IPL and CPL and those kind of things kind of blew up right after that, and that did a whole lot for cricket as far as sponsorship, to the point where U.S. cricket now is going through a kind of a transformation here also, where we now have the minor league starting at the end of July, which is now sponsored by Toyota, and it's going to be a countrywide competition and all that. So I think putting cricket on that stage in whatever format, T20 they could definitely do that. But T10 in any kind of format, putting it on that stage, getting the access to that new audience and kind of providing that gateway for more people to look at the sport will be great for the game overall.
Okay, interesting. Thank you there, Danny. But Vicky, given what we know about the American-based audience, right? Let's say we do manage to really in 2020 really excite them and get them riled up about cricket after they would have watched T10. Given what you know about them, can we now pull back and say, okay, there is also T20, there is also the 5-day format, there is also the 50 over format. Don't you think that might throw like the American kind of fan off?
It might throw them off, but you have to start somewhere, right? And it's better to start slowly and ease their way in. Like, I'm a very big cricket fan, right? And even for me, I cannot sit and watch a 5-day game. I don't have the time for it. I love cricket, and I'm always following the score. And when your favorite player is batting, you try to put on the link and watch it or watch someone bowl. And I think Test cricket is something that pulls your interest in, but you don't have the time to watch it for 5 days. And I think the American audience could pay attention to it, like what Dinesh was saying with the snippets on Sports Center. They will probably watch the highlights. But then the great thing about America is no matter what happens, when it comes to Olympics and any team sport, Americans could not know anything about the sport. They're like, America's playing, that's it. We're going to support the USA. And we see that we see that in the soccer World Cup, right? Like, Americans don't know much about soccer, but whenever there's a World Cup, they're always behind their team. So we have a strong sense of national pride, and I think if the U.S. team were to go up there, I think it will be well supported and well represented.
Right. All right, I have a little clip here from, I think it was Sachin. Yeah, Tendulkar. He was talking a little bit about Olympics and cricket. Let's listen to him, and then we come.
Well, cricketer होने के नाते मैं तो कहूँगा कि the game needs to globalize without any doubt. And some time ago, when I was there in 2016 at the Rio Olympics, I also spoke to Mr. Bach, Thomas Bach, and I told him कि मुझे लगता है I feel cricket should be included. But also when cricket is included, I think one needs to give enough time for the rest of the teams to prepare themselves. And he was under the impression that 5 days, how can we wait? No, there are number of versions now. Cricket is, I think, one of those few sports where there are multiple versions. So one day के बाद अभी T20, now T10 has also started. By the time I think they introduce cricket in the Olympics, God knows it might be just 5 overs or whatever. But I think the game should be there. Being a cricketer, obviously I would want that to happen. And I'm looking forward to that day without any doubt.
Your thoughts to hear on Tendulkar's take on cricket at the Olympics.
Well, yeah, he's definitely right, because he basically hit the same points that Vicky made in terms of, you have, as the more suitable format would probably be the T10. It's a lot faster. You could probably get in 3-4 games in one day instead of having a long drawn-out tournament. Seeing as the Olympics itself, it's only about 2 weeks. So even have a T10 knockout tournament in the Olympics. I feel like that is definitely doable. But yeah, I definitely agree with Tendulkar in terms of cricket has been around for so long, and it's only made one appearance in the Olympics, where you have sports now like skateboarding and so on making appearances. It's and it would be good for the sport in general, just globalization wise, and getting more eyes watching the sport, more people involved in it. I think it's definitely good for the growth of the sport.
Okay. Dennis, we thought about Sachin's off the cuff remark where he said, by the time we get to the Olympics, we might even have T5.
Yeah, I mean, the game's been evolving pretty quickly. It seems like around the time, because we have the 100 now, and there was several T10 tournaments, and it seems like once that T20 version, once that magic dust kind of worked on it, it just took off, and people are getting innovative in different manners and in the way the game is played. I know we have the Hong Kong Sixes also is a different version that's out there. That hasn't caught on too much, but definitely the six-a-side tournaments. So yeah, I mean, it's all up for grabs. I think though, having an established format going into it will work. Certainly, you don't want to get to that stage where you're trying out the format for the first time. So the T10 format has been working. There are a few leagues out there. I think something like that, as Vicky has been saying, will go a long way. I do acknowledge the point that Tahir made, though, with respect to keeping it to some sort of an amateur level, where you're not having these established teams like India or so having a very dominant team having to compete against smaller countries with not so wide of a talent pool to select from. So keeping it to some sort of amateur based will be able to make it a bit more fair.
That might be a tricky proposition. No, I mean, back in the 70s, maybe, right, where Olympics, was generally an amateur sport. I mean, there were a few countries who would cheat, but I think starting in the late 80s, 90s, professional, like basketball, it used to be just strictly amateur, right? So it might be difficult to tell a country, yo man, just give the younger guys a chance. I think the gold medal, the whole thing about winning a gold medal is really a big thing.
I was
Especially the big cricketing nations, they won't want to send a team and they actually lose out on winning, a gold medal.
I was gonna mention basketball. Like it's someone versus the U.S. in the gold medal game, right? It's always who's gonna be there. So with cricket, I think you might have more competition. You might not have the West Indies there, but every other team is a national team, right? So
Right.
I think it'll be well represented. Of course, we will feel very shortchanged. But if as I said, if Jamaica or Trinidad or Guyana or could put in a very strong team, I think we could feel well represented.
Right. Yeah,
we'll also do a lot for we in cricket we tend to favor, like, of course we're from the West Indies, but a lot of the associate nations will come a long way there because they're very competitive. But that's when they come up against these established teams, they're a little bit more. You could see the difference. But if you put it on a stage like the Olympics and you have some sort of restriction there, I think the associate teams are going to be a lot more competitive, and it'll do a lot for those individual nations also in their cricket development. So I think there's only positivity you could get out there.
I think a big change with the cricket in Asia is the monetary part of it, right? Like when we were growing up, you had 10 or 15 guys who would make a team. Maybe 5 of those guys would make enough money to last their career, and they don't have to find another job. But cricket nowadays, you could have hundreds of people from a country making this a professional, making this their profession, and have enough money to last the rest of their life after they retire. And that's a big thing. That's pushing the development of cricket. And that's why in places like India and Pakistan, for example, it's cricket crazy. And the Olympics will just bring in even more money, especially to those associate teams, and grow the sport even more. And I think it'll have a big effect.
Yeah, and being in America, I just want to throw in there, America is an associate team, and I think a country as big as America, with the adoption of the sport, I think it could only bode well getting it on a stage like the Olympics. If just looking at U.S. cricket, for example.
Okay, good. All right. We'll come back to cricket. Let's take a little side bits and pieces. Now, Vicky, I heard you saying, with work and so on, you really don't get much time to, sit down and watch a 5-day game and thing. How often do you find yourself going shopping in New York?
That's a hard question. Like since the pandemic, I haven't gone to a mall, and even
you're an Amazon guy.
I'm an Amazon guy. Pre-pandemic too, I have little kids, so I don't go to the mall to shop. I go to take my kids to like enjoy food or whatever else. If I want to shop, I gotta go by myself. So not too often, but online, a lot more, but not at the store.
Okay. What about you, Danish?
Generally, I don't take any pleasure from shopping. I'm not a fancy guy the way I carry myself or dress. I don't do much shopping in New York unless it's absolutely necessary. I would tend to find an outlet mall somewhere and go there and knock out a year's worth of shopping. Yeah. So that's personal stuff. Clothes and stuff like that. That's how I handle it. Besides that, I'm definitely on the online Amazon Prime setup there. Not much going to malls and going to like the your stores and stuff like that. I'm not too much into that.
Right. What about you, Ty? I mean, the must got some guy who actually enjoys.
Well, you seem like you might be out of luck because I'm a bit of a minimalist myself, so don't really indulge in too much shopping. The only thing I really find myself shopping for is just more gear equipment to facilitate, my
Oh,
my
yeah,
my
yeah.
track career. And as Daniel said, I'd more go to Orlando and find an outlet mall and
Right, right.
get
Well,
what I need to get for the
and,
yeah, for more lot less, pretty much.
Okay,
lastly, I
okay.
want to add a comment. I want to take back what I said. We do shop a lot at the cricket store. So if that counts, we spend a lot of time at the cricket store.
Yeah,
So
we're in
not
cricket
just
zone every
that
weekend, shopping for gears for either for us or for the club or for the guys. So we're over by Ravi in cricket zone.
Right, right. So you do a lot of that kind of shopping, right?
Yep,
All
yep.
right. Starting next week, we gonna delve into um, the way we Caribbean New Yorkers shop. Where we go, what we buy, etc. So we will be doing it through the eyes of one of our producers, and the name of that will be Galavanting with Ma'cell. Now, Ty, have you had the pleasure of having to shop with a member of the female sex, and taking the time to go through the racks? Have you had that special privilege?
Well, yeah, my wife, she's a bit more, she's a little bit more inclined on the shopping. So even before the pandemic, yeah, we would go to the mall and I'd hang in the background and gaze around and try to find ways to to make myself useful. Every now and then, if cricket was on, I'd probably just pull up my phone and watch. Open up Willow Cricket and see who playing
Right, 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 right.
while she do what she have to do. So yeah, I've had that. I've had that pleasure of shopping with the opposite sex, because it's just funny, even just the whole dynamic inside of our house, where most of the closet space is taken up by my wife, and
Mm.
what I call my uniform in terms of the three the three chinos and the three shirts that I rotate every time I have to go anywhere.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
that's pretty much me. Yeah, I just mostly spend money on food, to be honest. Especially living in New York, you can
Okay.
pretty much find just about anything you want to eat up here. So that's where I usually divert my focus in terms of shopping. I shop for food.
Okay, great. So, folks, look out for next Wednesday for Galavanting. Okay. Um, Danish, tell us how much longer we have in the New York cricket season. What can fans expect moving forward for the rest of this month and into August?
Yeah, generally speaking, the cricket season lasts all the way up into either early to mid October. The
Mhm.
tournament that we're playing in, and I think Metro League might be along the same timeline. There's full month of cricket in July, and then into August, and the back end of August we start having playoffs. I think we're scheduled for playoff in the New York National Cricket League on the last couple of weeks of August, and then the finals are supposed to play in either the first or second week in September, depending on where Labor Day falls. So there's a lot of cricket to come, and typically after the final for the current competition, there's T20 competitions coming up after that. So the summer is usually packed and full with cricket. These are probably the best. The coming weeks are probably the best weeks leading into the playoffs because the weather is nice and warm, and
Right.
the pitches are a little harder, and you get a bit more runs scored during this time. So fans out there, if you're looking to catch some cricket, there's lots of cricket being played now too. So even like a
Right.
T10 competition starting on Friday afternoon. So lots of cricket out there.
Okay. Okay. For the regular season in the 40 over regular season, how many games you guys normally have to play before the playoffs?
The current league, actually, this is the first year we're playing in New York National League. The first full year we played last year in that same league on Sundays, and it was a 30 over competition. But this is the first season we're actually playing in New York Nationals. We are scheduled to play 14 games ahead of the playoff. We have gone through 8 games already, and so that means we have about 7 more games to play before the playoffs, and then the playoffs will consist of quarters, semi, and finals.
All right. Okay. Vicky, do you see Richmond Hill Liberty completing their regular season unbeaten?
Always gotta hope, man. Yeah, listen, we keep going in every week. You know, you guys keep going into the games every week, trying to try to improve, try to get better.
Right.
I hope knock on wood, guys don't get injured. We've seen a lot of injuries with a few wet outfields in the past couple of weeks. But if the guys keep backing themselves, I'm hoping we could do that. But not only do that, when it really matters, just go all the way to the final, not just the regular season.
Right. Tahir, if you were a betting man, would you say that maybe there's a chance that Richmond Hill Liberty, they keep going, they might have the course of the Amazon Warriors, where they win the entire, they win all the games, going up to the final, and then would you bet on that possibility?
Well,
cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties, as they say.
Well, that would be a tricky one. Funny enough, I probably should have bet some money on that Amazon Warriors match against Barbados Trials. That morning, I woke up and had a feeling that Barbados would have pulled it off. But you never know. To be honest, cricket is not a sport. I tend to, well, in general, I'm not really a betting man, but I tend to refrain from betting on cricket. The tides can change so dramatically in
right.
I don't have the stomach to lose money like that.
We're coming down to the close, and I want to ask something along that line. That is, the whole uncertainty factor, happens to be one of the more intriguing things about cricket. But given what we know about the younger generation, do you think it's a saleable angle? Right? Some of us, some old guys might like that whole intrigue, and the fact that you can't necessarily predict at any one given time. Okay, this is exactly how the game is going to end. And for we who love cricket, even when our own team gets beaten in that way, we still appreciate the whole thrill of it. But do you think we can really sell a generation from that perspective? One of the more intriguing and enlightening aspects of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But before I answer the question, I got to point out we have 3 teams. 2 of them are undefeated, and the second one is not.
Okay.
And all 3 teams are viable candidates for winning the championship, I would say. So I wouldn't rule us out. We certainly, our goal when we go out to play cricket is not, to be undefeated in the season or to win a championship. We focus on the process and getting it right every game and let the result play for itself. But certainly, yeah, I agree with you. It is a saleable aspect of the game. I think live sports in general, one of the reasons that it's hanging on, you look at a lot of TV shows and media time being cut down, but live sport is still kicking well. They sell these big contracts. for viewer rights. It's generally that's why people watch live sports, because they don't know how it will turn out. You can't write a script for any game. And cricket, I think one of the things that you have compared to other sports is there's so many variations of how it could play out. In a basketball game, one team will win, the other team will fall short, and you might get a thriller at the end. Cricket, there could be very, very much different angles. A guy might score a double hundred in a game, in a T20 game, for example, and that's something unique you're going to see. I mean, certainly other games have those kind of aspects too. But yeah, I think for a new fan, if they catch the very first game and it's a thriller, then that'll get them hooked for a while. But as you mentioned, the people who are experienced and been watching the game know what live being at the park and watching the game or watching it live on TV brings, and that's what keeps us interested every time. Interested every time a new game comes out. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me close by posing a question to a single question, and I want each of you to respond. Let's assume you are part of the ICC. You are on the ruling body of cricket, and cricket has been accepted by the Olympic body for 2028. Starting with you, Tahir, tell us the format that you would run for the Olympics. How you would have it organized. Let's say you had the power to do it.
Well, as I mentioned before, well, and even as Vicky, the T10 format, I think that's the best format to go with in terms of just time constrictions. Have the T10 format, knockout.
But how would you decide like how many teams can participate?
Oh, in terms of the qualification process.
Yeah, how would teams qualify? How would individual players qualify?
That's a tricky one actually, because I would say you could do it by region, but then especially over in the Americas per se, it would be a lot stickier in terms of you have all the countries in the Caribbean vying for spots, and then you have the US and Canada, in Europe. You already have you have a few countries. You have England, Ireland, a few European countries that do play cricket, the Netherlands, etc. So I feel like maybe a preliminary tournament would have to take place, maybe, and you take the top ranked teams from that tournament in a sense, because I don't think you could particularly balance it that well if you do it by region, because then even like you think of Oceania now, it's pretty much just Australia, and then you got a couple of the small countries, Papua New Guinea, etc., and it's kind of open and shut at that point. So I feel like you get everybody in a preliminary tournament before the Olympics and kind of have a bit of like a playoff before, like I guess technically kind of how they do the like the World Cup, not the World, like how Europe does the Euro qualifiers, where you have groups now, and you play in your groups, and the top two of each group now gets a chance to go and play in the Olympics. I think that's how I would have done, how I would do it, to be honest.
Okay. Danesh, how would you approach it?
I think
you're on the board of the ICC, and you're in charge of Olympics.
I think given that we have 8 years, if we're looking out to, or 7 years, we're looking out 2028. There's certainly enough time where we could give it a few shots. Trying a few different formats. To get like a qualifying tournament and decide it and tweak it a little bit before we get into that preparation for that final World Cup there. If it was to happen right now, if I was in the ICC and the gun was to my head, I would use the established format that we have, the T20 format, and make that happen. Certainly, there will have to be some sort of qualifying tournament. You can't take every country there, so you'd have to break it up somehow into regions, and certainly ICC follows that in a certain manner when they do qualifying tournaments for these World Cup competitions and stuff like that. So you'll try to mirror that as closely as possible, with some minor tweaks maybe to give some fairness to the rest of the teams. that might not normally be in those competitions. And then certainly part of it, I would still emphasize some sort of amateur nature to it, or amateur influence to it. So maybe put some sort of restriction on the teams, saying, maybe you get 5 professional guys, and you can define professional by, playing X amount of T20s or something like that. And then get, 6 of your remaining guys who are non-professionals or under 19 or something like that, to just make it a little bit more competitive and kind of flatten the playing field a little bit. So that's generally, I would think, would be my immediate thought on the process there for it.
Okay. Yeah, I take Vicky.
So I think if cricket were to go to the Olympics, I would try to make it as professional as possible, because I want to put out the best product the first time it's out there, right? Afterwards, you could put a substandard product, but the first time the world is seeing cricket, you wanted to see the best of the best. And believe it or not, the ICC has been working on this formula for T20 cricket. So right now, the ICC ranks 82 countries. I'm looking at the chart. They rank 82 countries in the world. And they're going to take the top 16 countries and play in the T20 World Cup. So just as an FYI, like the US is ranked 34 in T20 and Canada is ranked 22nd. I think as they play more games, they might go up or down the ratings. But you would establish something like this, right, where all the teams in the world are playing a particular format. Right. It's like what you do with the World Cup qualifier. And the ICC could say, this is for our event, but we'll pick the top 24 teams. I want to get a lot of teams for the Olympics because you want everyone to be watching. So you pick the top 23 teams plus the home nation qualify, and you put up a team and you make it a short, maybe knockout tournament, or a lot of small groups like the Soccer World Cup, and you're able to have a lot of participation, and then we all know the same teams come to the top, but try to make it professional where when it's the playoff rounds, everyone is seeing really, really good cricket and they like it so much they want to follow it, and then as you do this 2 or 3 times, you go more semi-professional.
Okay, thank you so much, Vicky, and thank you, Danish, and thank you, Tahir, for joining us. Vicky and Danish, I will be inviting you guys on and off as we follow Richmond Hill Liberty. All right. You figure that you're going to get at least 1 cup, right?
I want to count your eggs before they're hatched. We want to play good cricket. That's it. We want to play good cricket. We want to be a club that provides a good cricket environment for our guys. That's what we have control over. I don't want to sell our guys short. They have the talent and the ability to do it, and we'll just let the process happen. That's all you could have control of. From there onwards, you let things fall into place.
Okay, but looking at the results so far, and as you look down, who do if you had to name 2 or 3 teams that would likely be your more fearsome, competitors, who would those 2 or 3 teams be?
If you look at the points table, it kind of speaks for itself where it's at right now. If you look at the top 3 teams in each zone, maybe those are the teams that will be.
You feel that they would remain, the Galaxies, etc., would remain.
Yeah, I generally think so. The thing with playing a long cricket season, which is certainly a long cricket season, it beats you up as a team. Vicky mentioned, guys getting injured and stuff like that. And there's an interesting dynamic happening this year with the minor league going on, which is certainly great for the guys that are going to be playing in minor league. But then at our level, the club cricket level, we'll be short of a few of our more talented guys. So managing that and working through that will all put stresses through the tournament. So it'll be an interesting season. But yeah, I do think the teams that are currently at the top 2, 3 in the table, top 4 in the table are the guys who are gonna make a push in the playoffs.
Okay. All right. We'll be keeping tabs and see what's going on. Tahir, I'll certainly want to invite you back sometime in the future. You have a very interesting perspective, being someone who's a full athlete and also someone who's passionate about the game of cricket. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on Bits and Pieces.
No, thank you for having me. I enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Nancy, once again. Anybody who's out there would like to follow us at Liberty Sports C on all of the social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can definitely follow along there. And yeah, thanks again, Nancy, for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, Nancy. I want to encourage the New York cricket fans to come out Saturdays and Sundays to the Baisley Cage or the Baisley Pond to come see some cricket. I think it's a big part of our heritage and culture, and we certainly need to spread it to the next generation of kids, both boys and girls in the U.S.
Bring the kids up.
Certainly, and I like the emphasis on both boys and girls in that the women's game is very much a big thing in cricket at the present time. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you listeners. And please do join us next week for another edition of Bits and Pieces NYC. Thank you all and good night.
Good night.
I feel your heartbeat. I know you're concrete.